Hello, everyone. We are here in New York City, and I'm joined by a special guest, CEO of Omega.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much. I first want to say that
Thank
for
you,
making
Teddy.
this possible. We're unveiling some new James Bond watches, which we're very excited about. So I guess we could start there. This partnership with James Bond and Omega. What is that process like? And I asked that mostly in regards to the design process. How are they involved in that? How do you guys decide what watch should be featured? And also, what should the overall design look like? How does that change movie to movie, and what is that conversation like between the two of you?
Yeah, it's a great question that you're asking. It's first of all, it's been 25 years. Now it's the 9th movie, and we're very, very proud to be again and have an incredible watch into that movie. But it's a process that is based on a trust, on an incredible success, because over the last 25 years, we had tremendous success with our Seamaster 300 meter, and then afterwards all kind of James Bond watch. So as in every development, we know very well, and we are dedicated to James Bond to create the newest model, to create for him in his life as a secret agent, as a gentleman, to have a very elegant Omega watch, but at the same time also to have a watch that is for him in his function as a secret agent. A watch that is robust, high quality. So it's a question about discussing about the next movie and how, due also to the evolution of our technology, how we can serve this gentleman the best way, the Omega way.
So now we have Daniel Craig.
Yes.
I mean, is he involved in this at all? And each movie is a little bit different in how it's structured. How does that play a role in the actual end result of the Bond watch that's being presented with each movie?
What is very interesting is that in this movie, we were very much talking to Daniel because, first of all, he is a very big Omega watch lover. Secondly, also, he knows very well about military watches. And also because that was a moment that he wanted to have a special watch now for this last movie what he was doing. So he was very much involved in giving us the vision, giving us also what he feels that James Bond today, 21st century, should wear as a watch. And from there on, we added all what we felt that was very important. Seamaster 300 meter, titanium because it has to be light, the robust master chronometer, and finally we made this product that he's worn a lot. And that we feel is the best way to celebrate James Bond with him.
So he was able to try it on, and so it's a working relationship. It's always a working relationship, movie by movie, how this continues to evolve over the past 25 years.
Yeah, you have to know that with the James Bond production, we've been, as I said, already 25 years long. So it's, of course, with him being, first of all, of an ambassador, he's part of our family. Knowing the watches, having visited our manufacturer, and also being a James Bond already for 4 times, it was very easily to understand also what kind of a special topics or what kind of vision he had for this watch. So it was like creating the new James Bond watch with an incredible positive energy.
So segueing from a universally loved character in James Bond to, I think, from my perspective, I've got a pretty good pulse on brands that people love as watch enthusiasts, and Omega is certainly at the top. There's a lot of things happening right now in the industry. We have, there's challenges in Hong Kong. We see acquisitions taking place with LVMH and Tiffany, and this whole changing of almost the guard of how watches are sold, especially with younger consumers. What do you see? Now we're going into 2020. I can't believe we can say that in a month. What are some of the challenges and opportunities you see for Omega? What are the things that you want to make sure you're lined up, and what are the big objectives and goals for going in the next decade?
And for us, it's very important to concentrate on our DNA. This year we're celebrating 50 years of the moon landing. We're now into the James Bond. Next year is going to be Olympic Games. So the world is changing. But if you concentrate on who you are and on your values, then you're going to continue to motivate people to make them dream about buying one of your watch or wearing it. And I see it very much into all our stores. We have more than 160 stores in our world. And it's very important to have all these people coming and getting into the feeling of an Omega watch. We are multi-products. We have many, many pillars of our communication, but that they are consequent. They have been coherent for many, many years, like the James Bond collaboration. So, yes, the world has been changed. Yes, there's a lot of things happening between the brands, but the consumer, we are focusing on our consumer, making them continue to dream, making them inspired by what we do, and bringing them the best quality, bringing them the best product we can in terms of material, keeping our pioneering spirits in making them very proud when they leave our stores with a watch on their wrist.
So you talk about the consumer. The interesting thing, you guys are so in tune with your heritage, and you can see, looking at the inspiration of even the mesh bracelet from the old Seamaster 300s. Who is your customer now? If you could describe, the customer base for who wears an Omega watch, and there's so many different segments, I'm sure, but I mean, are there overarching ideas of who you guys go after with your watches and who you're producing your watches for?
I think that it would be totally not really an Omega answer to give you one kind of customer. What I know is that all around the world, because also of our 4 lines, Constellation, Seamaster, Speedmaster, and DeVille, we are covering a lot of designs, a lot of, I would say, type of watches, but all in common have the Omega DNA. And we can understand that very well, because when we see people coming in before the Olympic Games or before the James Bond movie, they're looking maybe first at the James Bond watch, but then they are being interested in a Speedmaster, in some of the watch. So I'll be honest with you, this is a great asset that we have at Omega. We've been a universal brand since long in terms of our products, in terms of presence. And in today's world, there's a lot of people that come there because they've decided. What they have in common is that they are achievers. They want this watch because they know about it. They want to know more. And they know at that moment that they will be very proud to wear it on their wrist because it's an Omega, because of all the energy we put into creating this watch, producing it, and bringing it to them. So typically, from a 20 years young guy that wants the James Bond watch to an incredible nice lady in the 50s that wants to have a very elegant Constellation, they all want to have this because all together they know that with Omega on the wrist, they have the highest quality, but also the customer orientation that we wanted to create in terms of bringing them the pride of having this product.
So you mentioned the younger guy, the younger consumer. Interesting kind of shift right now. I mean, I feel like I represent that type of the market, and just to be completely candid, I've never purchased a watch in a store. I purchase all my watches online. So I'm a new type of buyer in this space. What do you think, and how do you think it will evolve, or how is Omega maybe thinking about ways to market, also ways to sell to younger consumers that with traditional practices and things of how the industry have been might be going in a different direction? How do you answer to those young consumers? What are you looking at going forward?
I think that being the CEO of Omega is quite of a pride when you talk about the new generation and the new ways of selling. We've sold Speedy Tuesday, the first in the whole industry, from the Instagram, on the internet. We have e-commerce in already many countries of the world. We have a lot of our partners that are selling also on the internet. But this is a great way of reaching the people. There's a lot of people that also nevertheless are informing themselves on all the channels, but then coming for celebrating this moment of going into one of our store, or one of the multi-brand store that are officially Omega dealers, and they want to have this in this kind of reality. I think it's quite important to know that your generation, but also like mine, is also being willing, whenever they goes into Omega, to have the opportunity to buy it online or offline. But our brand has been very well prepared in terms of informing, in terms of being consumer-oriented, so that we know, like typically with the Speedy Tuesday, the 2 editions we've done, that we can reach incredible sales, incredible success, also only via the other channels that are the ones that we know until now.
So I have a couple of questions from my followers, but
Yes.
before we jump into that, just talking about this world of marketing, and I think being in the James Bond, the whole idea about it, very, very ambassador-driven Omega is, and I think you guys do it very well. Can you talk about that process of how you partner up with both celebrities or say fictional characters that resemble the brand? Like, what do you look for to find those relationships?
But Teddy, you just said resemble the brands. And I think that it's very important first to know who you are. I think Omega is an incredibly inspiring brand. It's a brand for achievers, the brand that is not arrogant, that has a lot of values. Like what we've done with the Master Chronometer certification, an incredible certification for the value, for the precision of the watch, for every single consumers. And I think that we wanted to do that for them. And for us, these values are very important then whenever we are talking and whenever we are willing to have some of our ambassadors, friend of the brand. They are inspiring people, but they are sharing our values. And that's also why we've been very loyal since many, many years with some of the people that have started to be with us a long time ago. And they will continue to be there because we share the same value. It's not only about being number one, it's also about being true people, true ambassadors. And that's why James Bond, that's why, you know, from Cindy Crawford to Kaya Gerber, with Nicole Kidman, or, you know, George Clooney, we have people that have been for us very long. They are coherent and consistent into their love for our brand. And that's why also, for instance, that they always visit us, because they want also to talk to all our workers, for instance, to all the people that are producing these watches, because they know these people are very motivated to make every customer very happy. So you have to be very close to who you are in order to choose and to make people inspire all the other ones all around the world.
All right, so Raynald, we have a few more questions from my followers that they wanted to ask you specifically. I posed the question, so this is the first one right here. So, do I have any reason to be optimistic that the 321 movements will be placed in a stainless steel Speedmaster that will be in standard production, not a limited edition? I think the limited edition question was the...
I very much love this question, and I thank your follower for asking this question, because it's something that I can easily answer by saying be optimistic, very much, because this 321 has been a long project that we've all taken in the management of creating an incredible watch, a watch that will be not a limited edition, neither the platinum that we already know, nor the steel that we're still working on, but that soon will be very much communicated. And it's normal, because this watch, this movement first, has so much of a value that it was normal that we will also dedicate a still incredible Speedmaster. I can already say that.
There we go.
In a non-limited edition.
Amazing. There we go. World first. There we are. All right, so the next question, are there plans to develop more watches to capture the female audience and with men who like traditional sizing instead of the 40 millimeters and up releases? And I'm wearing a 34 millimeter old Paipan Constellation, so I guess this is a question for myself as well.
No, that's a very good question. I think the world has evolved. I'm very much into having, as I said already, Omega being a universal brand. 50% of our sales worldwide are for ladies, 50 are for men. So our mission is also to be able to follow that. But on the other side, we also have to be coherent and consistent. We have already 4 lines. We have to be, you know, very well managing these lines before doing a lot for just some kind of opportunistic. Omega is not an opportunistic brand in terms of evolving these lines, but obviously if you look at the evolution of some of our lines lately, you could see that some of the watches are getting a bit smaller and some of the ones are a bit bigger, because we truly believe that there is a lot of demand on many of the models for both ladies and men, which are for us kind of a duty to make them available. And it's functioning very well.
So last question. This is more of a personal question. If you could wear only one Omega watch for 2020, which one would you wear?
Oh, it's a
This is personal preference.
Yeah, no, I like this question, because it's also a question that many of our consumers are asking themselves, because we have a lot of loyal customers, but also some people, they want to buy their first one, and they want to hear maybe from me, which watch would this be? I have to be honest with you. I always like to wear the newest version of our watches, but I'm very much into the creation of this new James Bond watch. And it's going to be the watch that we will launch. It's a non-limited watch, and it's a watch that is, for me, kind of a symbol, a milestone in our relationship with James Bond, with Daniel Craig. So for the time being, and I know very well about what's happening into 2020, I think this watch that I'm wearing might very well be the watch that I would buy and wear the whole year.
All right. What about, I'll ask this, what about looking back at maybe more older model? Is there something more existing in the catalog that you also like as well, that you like wearing?
I think it's not being a CEO of Omega, but just being a watch lover. I think there's one watch that I still always in love with this Speedmaster Moon watch. And I think that the work we've done with the management and with the incredible help of the Swatch Group is about creating the new evolution of them by bringing 321 and 3861, the new master chronometer certification, into the Speedmaster, will make me even more like my very traditional, iconic 1861 that I bought 20 years ago, the first ever Omega that I bought when I joined the company.
That's awesome. Well, Raynald, I want to thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Teddy.
Appreciate it. Now, there are few watches that garner the same level of pop cultural relevance as the James Bond watch, and being at an event like this, I've only gained more appreciation and understanding of how pop culturally relevant a release like this is, and going beyond just our small world of watches. Because again, James Bond since 1962 has just worn a watch on his wrist, and since 1995, Omega has been the brand that he's been wearing. So I'll preface everything that I say here in terms of just my understanding of the watch and my feelings about the watch with just the fact that I only got to spend about an hour with it. I got a presentation of kind of an overview of the product from an Omega representative, but also had some time, probably 30 minutes or so, actually looking at the watch for myself and trying it on. So let's look at the specifications of the watch from a high level point of view. So looking at the watch, we have a grade 2 titanium case coming in a case size of 42 millimeters, thickness 13.1 millimeters, and a lug-to-lug of 49 millimeters. We also have a dome sapphire crystal, water resistance of the expected 300 meters. We also have a master chronometer 8806 automatic movement within with a 55-hour power reserve. And for pricing of both of these, $9,200 for the bracelet, which is a mesh bracelet, and then for the NATO strap, $8,100. So with many Seamaster 300 divers, I have kind of the same criticism. A little bit too large for my wrist. I'm 6¼ inch wrist, 15.9 centimeters for my metric system friends. And with that helium escape valve, it does really make it difficult for me to pull them off. So that criticism remains here, but there's a couple things that made this one, when putting it on the wrist, a lot more compact and wearable for me. So first, when putting it on, you notice the light titanium construction right away, and when pairing it with either the NATO or the metal bracelet, this thing, I had to like do a double take in just seeing how light this thing was. I thought I just picked up a display model and was not actually working with an encased movement. So I'll say that popped out right away and really struck me as being a very lightweight watch. And also with the 49 millimeter lug to lug, this is going to be much more compact than many Seamaster models that I've worn in the past. Looking at the dial, a couple talking points that will certainly arise. One being the British military marking at the 6, which I think is a good middle ground with showing connection to the James Bond franchise without completely pandering. Excessive branding here can come off a bit corny, so I think this is walking that fine middle ground pretty nicely. And the other point of emphasis is definitely going to be the faux patina. I know people like to pile on just having the same opinion, hey, why the faux patina? But I've been on record saying that I like it with either the Seamaster Railmaster review that I've done, as well as the Oris Diver 65. So this isn't a big deal for me. I think it looks fine, and I actually kind of like it. And also, I did notice in a lot of press photos, the dial translates much differently in its color, being very black or say like a vivid black in some pictures, but I found it almost being like a slightly grayish tint, especially in certain lighting conditions with that dial. So I do think the choice of titanium was an interesting choice to say the least here, because I think many people suspect when thinking of a Bond watch to go for stainless steel. I think one, for just the price component of it, and just I think the appeal of a stainless steel watch does probably cater really well to who are going to be interested to this watch. But I will say this, when you're looking at the bracelet itself, I was really impressed with how it wore. Also, the locking system was unique and wore really well on my smaller wrist. Well, there you have it, guys, an amazing event. So if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. That'd be a great indicator for me as well, because I just want to do more content like this in the future, and that'd be a little encouragement for me to do it. Also, before we sign off, quick question. What is your favorite Omega Bond watch, and then your favorite Bond watch in general? Leave comments down below. So guys, thank you again so much for watching. Be well, and I'll see you all very soon.